Yesterday we got news that 2 new games from Sony have been canceled. And also both of these games were live service games, which obviously further pushes that point that Sony has obviously been trying to push out live service games over the last couple of years as one of their main things that they wanted to do. They want to establish a very big live service IP that they can obviously make money from for years and years and years to come. Now, they actually have had some success with this in recent years. If you look at Helldivers 2, for example, Helldivers 2 has been a huge success for Sony, even despite them making all of these bad decisions regarding needing a PlayStation Network account to play this game and then reverting back from this, but now obviously still countries that can't access PlayStation Network now can't play that game at all. But overall, even despite these bad decisions, Helldivers 2 has been a very big success for Sony, and on top of that, with their new update, has definitely garnered more players back into that experience. But obviously, we have seen enormous blunders with them trying to do this as well, putting $500 million basically into Concord, a game that didn't even last 2 weeks. Now we're left with 2 live service games that were canceled, one by Bend Studios, which Bend has made games like Days Gone, so a relatively reputable studio that make games that people definitely enjoyed, and then another one by Bluepoint, who obviously made the remake to Shadows of the Colossus, as well as the Demon's Souls remake. And although we don't know what game Bend was making, we do know the game that Bluepoint was making, and this one is absolutely insane to me, and I actually think Sony definitely made the right call canceling this game, because it was going to be a God of War spin-off live service experience. The last thing I think a lot of fans wanted, especially me, who was a huge fan of God of War, played every single God of War, was a live service within this universe, not by Santa Monica Studio. Shit, even if it was by Santa Monica Studio, we don't want a live service God of War game. As a huge fan of God of War, I want a continuance of the series. The original God of Wars were absolutely amazing, and then we obviously got 2 new God of War games, the resurgence of God of War, as well as God of War Ragnarok, the sequel to the original God of War that we got on the PlayStation 4. Sony would have to be absolutely insane to undercut the success of God of War and God of War Ragnarok to release a live service while everybody is waiting and awaiting the new reveal or announcement of the next God of War installment. But what I'm really hoping here is that Sony is starting to learn its lesson. I don't think they would have completely canceled these studios. They would have tried to push out these live services probably 2 years ago if these games, in my opinion, were ready. Like I mentioned, they lost a ton of money on Concord. Yes, Helldivers did relatively well, but still their live service policies in general of really needing a PlayStation Network account to play most of these games is just completely anti-consumer in general. And they still even have another live service game upcoming from Bungie, which is their extraction shooter Marathon, who knows what this game's going to end up actually being like on release. I think we're also getting a live service Horizon coming up, which who knows what that's going to end up being like as well. But this infatuation for live service games has gone too far, and this is coming from someone who enjoys a lot of different live service experiences. You have to hit lightning in a bottle a lot of times for these to be successful for years and years to come. And if you're going to take that gamble, again, take it with something like Concord, where you're not completely ruining an established IP you already have, where people are begging for the experience that these IPs are actually meant to provide. Don't ruin God of War. Don't ruin Bloodborne. Don't ruin Uncharted or Last of Us, or granted, these are probably already done anyway. And granted, I think people actually were excited for Factions for The Last of Us, the live service experience that also got canceled here. But don't ruin the Ghost games, and don't ruin the Spider-Man games. Keep those as the experiences that people are actually looking forward from those IPs. But granted, to Sony's credit, they did cancel these. They're not pushing these forward, so I think, again, like I mentioned, they might actually be learning their lesson here. I think this is a good news moving forward for Sony, for their IPs, and for them as a company in general, making hopefully better decisions that fans are actually wanting from them. It was also reported that within these cancellations, there shouldn't be any people getting fired from these different studios, because they obviously probably wasted millions and millions and millions of dollars in development, if not more, because I think the Bluepoint game was in development for like 5 years. So it's good to know that there shouldn't be at least any major impacts in terms of the personnel at these studios, because again, like I mentioned, they have both made relatively pretty damn good games in the past. So hopefully they can start working on other projects that people really want from them, or that are going to be received with relative excitement once they get announced or revealed. But it does leave me to wonder what this live service from God of War would have actually looked like, just out of pure curiosity. I'm hoping we do get some information in the future on what this actually was going to end up being on release. The only thing I can even think of is more of like a co-op looter type game. Obviously not a looter shooter, but something similar to what we saw in Suicide Squad that, again, was a pretty big blunder. But although it seemed like Sony was definitely trying to make live service games for all of their major franchises, again, we had Factions for Last of Us, we had this for the God of War series, we still have the Horizon one coming up, it at least seems like they're walking a lot of this back, which I am at least very grateful for, so thank you, Sony, for that. I would love to know down below in the comments what you guys think about all this. Were you happy that there was a live service game being created for God of War? Are you more happy that it got canceled? What do you think this game was going to actually end up being like if it did release and didn't get canceled? What do you think Bend was making aside from Bluepoint? Because we didn't, or at least I didn't see any information on the game that they were creating. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you are new to the channel and you like gaming news and gaming reviews for RPGs and action adventure type of games, and you did like the video that you did see here, please like the video and subscribe for more content like this. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace!